School of Management Studies, IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 006 Marketing Management for MBA program. Block 3 Distribution and Promotion Decisions. Unit 11 Personnel Selling and Managing Sales Personnel. Part 1.
After completing this unit, you should be able to explain the nature and role of personal selling, list different types of sales positions and their responsibilities, describe the steps involved in the selling process, selling role of salesperson and the stages involved, meaning of the selling effort, to differentiate between selling and managing, understand the meaning and role of sales management, be aware of the process of recruiting, training and motivating the sales personnel, and the allocation of duties of the sales manager. Introduction. In contrast to advertising and publicity, which use impersonal methods of communication, personal selling makes use of direct personal communications to influence the target customers. Personal selling is a highly distinctive method of promotion and makes use of oral presentation in conversation with existing and potential customers for the purpose of making a sale. It is one of the oldest methods of business promotion. The contributions made by personal selling in making the promotion function more effective have earned the distinction of being the most reliable promotion method. Though it is the most expensive method of promotion, yet we see an increasing number of firms making use of it, and a good number of them realize that they cannot perhaps live without it. Increasing competition, growing sophistication of the buyer and his buying process are making personal selling more or less indispensable. As we have observed and understood the importance of personal selling effort by the sales force in promoting the firm's product or service offerings to the market, it is far more important to recognize and nurture these set of personnel in terms of their needs and wants in discharging their professional responsibilities to the best of their ability and competence. Thus, managing the firm's sales personnel is one of the core activities of the firm. The success of distribution strategy is primarily governed by the involvement and motivation of these set of sales personnel or staff. Not only their involvement is critical, but in the first place, the organization has to recruit the right persons, train them adequately, and assign them to various jobs. Of course, we know that the control and review of performance is also important. Thus, personal selling aspects and the personnel who manage the selling activities of the firm will be discussed in this unit. Role of personal selling. Personal selling, as the name implies, is an individual-to-individual selling. It is therefore carries the distinctive advantage of flexibility in terms of tailoring the sales presentation or interaction to the needs of the buyer. Another unique advantage comes from its two-way communication and human interaction, thereby providing instant feedback. These two unique advantages make personal selling the most result-oriented promotion method. Generally speaking, the nature of goods or products marketed as well as the distribution system adopted determine the role of personal selling in a firm. Therefore, personal selling is used extensively in the case of industrial goods, where the salesperson performs functions such as assisting the customer in designing the product specifications, product installation, product commissioning, solving technical problems through providing service after sales, and helping customers to have optimal utilization of the product. In the case of consumer goods, on the other hand, the role of personal selling gets usually restricted to the dealer, distributor, stockist level. The scope of the task performed include obtaining periodic orders, ensuring supplies, offering tips to dealers on product display, and attaining desired levels of stock movement. Similarly, the role played by personal selling is more in a firm which uses door-to-door selling method through its sales force than in the firm which sells through large stockist, distributors, or sole selling agents. Notwithstanding the varying role of personal selling in the strategies followed by different companies, the nature of the selling function requires certain tasks to be performed. They are: number 1, sales generation; number 2, feedback and market information collection; number 3, provision of customer service covering aspects such as delivery of goods, warranty administration, timely availability of repair and spares, etc. And number 4, performance of sales support activities such as monitoring distribution function, credit collection, improving manufacturer-dealer relations, implementing the promotional programs, etc. In practice, the complexity of the selling task actually performed varies from company to company, even under the mentioned 4 categories. Types of selling jobs. From the previous discussion, we have understood that while sales as a function has a common purpose, that is to effect sales, the selling situation differs due to interplay of various factors. These factors are nature of goods sold, type of distribution system used, nature of demand, and the type of sales strategy followed by the firm. These factors require the sales force to possess different traits and abilities suitable to the selling situation with which they are associated. To underscore the differences, Robert N. McCurry in The Mystique of Super Salesmanship classifies individual sales position based on the degree of creativity required into 7 categories. These 7 categories are: number 1, merchandise deliveries. The salesperson whose primary job is to deliver the product, usually against routine orders, is popularly called sales and delivery boys. The salespersons whose primary job is to deliver the product, usually against routine orders, are popularly called sales and delivery boys. Number 2, inside order taker. Working inside a store, the primary job of such a salesperson is to service the customer's request or suggest appropriate product to meet customer wants. Such type of salesperson are popularly called retail salesman. Outside order taker. The salespersons engaged in the task of taking orders from the resellers are called outside order takers. They normally do not use hard selling approach for making orders. Number 4, missionary salesperson. The salesperson whose primary job is to educate, give product detailing, build goodwill, or create primary demand for the product are called missionary salesperson. Strictly speaking, missionary salespersons are not permitted to take orders. Pharmaceutical companies hiring medical representatives for promotion of their products among doctors or medical fraternity is a classic example of the same. Number 5, sales engineer. The salesperson who acts as a technical consultant to the client and as per the need helps him to design products or production system for the client is popularly called technical salesperson. Number 6, tangible product seller. The salesperson whose job is to sell tangible products such as furniture, appliances, automobiles, etc. are called tangible product sellers. The job involves abilities to persuade and convince the customer. Number 7, intangible product seller. Here, the salesperson is associated with selling intangible products or services such as advertising services, insurance, education, banking and telecom, etc. The common factor being difficulty in immediate demonstration of the perceived benefits of the product. This selling job requires perhaps the greatest degree of creativity in the salesperson. We have discussed the different types of selling jobs which are very much in existence, but currently the nomenclature of these selling jobs may vary from firm to firm and also from one industry to another. Yet the fact remains that the role and responsibilities remain intact. Defining the salesperson's job. The earlier classification of the sales position into 7 categories on the basis of degree of creativity required in the performance of each job is only general in nature. Depending upon the organizational need, each company should clearly define what it expects from a salesperson in terms of the task to be performed by him. It should broadly specify how much of salesperson's time should be spent on developing new accounts versus servicing existing accounts, large accounts versus small accounts, bulk orders versus small orders, selling individual products versus selling the product line, selling old products versus selling new products, etc. Lack of clear definition regarding the selling task to be performed often results in disproportionate spending of time between the tasks as well as in imbalances in the goals achieved. To avoid this type of loss in productivity of the sales force, it is worth repeating that the job of the salesperson should be defined with sufficient clarity, focus and specificity so that he can use it as a guideline to keep himself in the right direction. The selling process. Up to this point, we were discussing the role of personal selling and the degree of creativity required in a salesperson to perform his task satisfactorily. Now we will understand the selling process followed for completing a sale. Though the steps in the selling process will be applicable to most of the selling situation, what will differ will be the degree of importance given to each step of the process under different selling situations. A salesperson must become accomplished at performing the selling steps. The basic steps in the selling process are: Step 1. Preparation. Before starting the selling job, a salesperson should make a valuable investment of time and resources to know the products he will be selling, know the customers, that is, customer types, buying motives and buying process to whom he will be selling, knowing the competitors against whom he will be selling, and finally know the philosophy, policies and range of products of his company. In short, he should be well equipped with the fundamentals of selling. Step 2. Prospecting. This step of the selling process deals with locating and preparing a list of prospective customers. Prospects can be located through number 1. Identifying the potential of buying more in the existing customers. Number 2. Recommendations of existing customers. Number 3. Winning back lost customers. Number 4. Attracting competitors' customers. Number 5. Customers' information request from advertisement. Number 6. Newspaper announcements. Number 7. Public records. Number 8. Directories like telephone, trade association, etc. Number 9. Other salesmen. Number 10. References from friends, neighbors and business associates. And number 11. Cold canvassing, that is going from door to door. The located prospects should first be qualified broadly in terms of number 1. Whether they want the product and how intense their want is. Number 2. Whether they have the adequate purchasing power. And number 3. Whether and who possesses the power or authorization to purchase and spend the required money. The qualifying of prospects is the process of separating the prospects from the suspects. It is worth mentioning here that the ability to prospect is the most essential ability of a successful salesperson. A good salesperson keeps examining, weeding out the already tapped prospects and updating his list of prospects and remain in constant search of new prospects. Step 3. Pre-approach. The qualifying process of separating prospects from suspects further requires that the salesperson should possess detailed information relating to the prospects in terms of existing products consumed, their scale of operation, product range, their buying size, frequency, budget and the process, etc. In short, obtain customer orientation. The sources of information for the purpose include company annual reports, other salespersons, other suppliers to the prospects, census of manufacturers, professional journals, newspapers, and market intelligence. The availability of all these informations in a detailed manner as possible will help the salesperson in ranking the prospect in terms of their priority to the company. Good salespersons use all these informations in classifying the prospects in A, B, and C categories in terms of the immediacy of the attention to be given to them. Step 4. Approach. First impression counts. As such, this step needs to be carefully planned. This step has two distinct parts. One of meeting the customer with a positive set of mind, and the second is to make an impact on him. For the former, referrals of reliable persons known to prospects, calling after fixing an appointment, use of door openers help. For the latter, the salesperson should equip himself with a key benefit to be emphasized, samples or new literature to be handed over, etc. Step 5. Sales presentation. Through advanced information relating to the prospect, every effort should be made to match the product offer to the needs or problems faced by the customer. The sales presentation should generally go according to the AIDA, that is attention, interest, desire and action approach. How can this be done? Use of key benefit or a problem solver or a unique act of the salesperson results in gaining attention. When used attentively, this part also provides opportunity to get the main point of the initial statements made by the prospect. The presentation should proceed in a straightforward manner to help the prospect know that you understand his problem and that is the reason of your being there. To convince the prospect as early as possible, the salesperson should offer evidence through demonstration of the product, use of exhibits, models, sharing of facts, citing examples of its successful applications or usage, showing testimonials, etc. The overall approach should be to build credibility and confidence in the supplying company, its products, and also in its competence to render specialized type of service to the complete satisfaction of its customers. The flexibility of the sales presentations can range from the canned or previously prepared presentation to those allowing the salesperson complete freedom in the presentation. Though both the extremes and even the hybrid of the two have their own situational suitability, the important point to note is that salesmanship, being a showmanship function, must arouse active participation of the prospect in the presentation process. This can be done by introducing some action which would keep the prospect captivated. One possible way would be a joint review of the problem faced by the prospect. Another is helping the prospect imagine the projected benefits of owning the product. Step 6. Handling objections. It is in the last phase of the sales presentation step that the prospects start expressing doubts or raising objections, whether relating to price, need for more time to think, satisfied with the existing product or supplier, or product quality claims. These doubts or objections should be welcome and they should be answered with confidence. There is certainly no doubt that the prospect has to be thoroughly convinced that the product would satisfy his need. The ability of the salesperson of mind reading of the prospects enables him to anticipate the prospect's objections and reactions. The golden rules for handling objections are: Number 1. welcome the objection and show respect to the prospect. And number 2, do not argue with the prospect. Even when the objections raised are half-baked or trivial in nature, the salesperson should handle the situation tactfully. Only in extreme necessity should a salesperson ask the prospect to adequately explain his problem faced. Even under these circumstances, courtesy should not be lost sight of, and while the discussion is on, the salesperson should start recounting the benefits of the product agreed upon and lead the prospect to make a favorable decision. It should be remembered that handling objections sharpens the selling skills of the salespersons. Step 7. Closing the sale. Closing is that aspect of the selling process in which the salesperson asks the prospect to buy the product. There is a critical point during each presentation when the salesperson should ask for the order. Pending the location of the critical point as the objections are being met, the salesperson should help reduce the choice of options, summarize the benefits of buying and the consequences of not buying, and, if need be, make use of the big idea appeal of buying now at the moment. The salesperson should have the ability of catching the buying signals given by the prospect and should act on them fast. Some such signals are changing the sitting or standing position and moving closer to the product, reading the instructions on the product, perusing the testimonials, showing hesitation in being able to afford, asking for another demonstration if applicable, checking the warranty or asking questions relating to warranty terms. These signals show that the time is ripe to start taking the order. Step 8. Post-sale follow-up. The selling process does not come to an end by writing the order. A few repetitions reassuring the benefits of the product keep the customer sold. Follow-up provides an opportunity to ensure that the product is being rightly used and, if necessary, to re-explain the method of using, handling and storing of the product when not in use. This builds favorable feelings and nurtures strong buyer-seller relationships. Post-sale follow-up not only reinforces the customer's confidence in the salesperson and his company, but also tends to keep competition out. This also helps to generate repeat business and valuable word-of-mouth publicity. The follow-up is a good source of feedback too. Let us conclude this section by stating that although the 8 steps of the selling process are essential in spirit, these may not always be followed. This could be partly due to, number 1, the selling situation involved. For example, in the case of insider order taker or retail salesperson, the first 3 steps of the selling process are generally not applicable, as the customer walks into the store for buying a product. Number 2, the expertise of the salesperson, such that he can ignore or assume some information. Or number 3, the seller's market of the product, where customers generally queue up for the product. Let us now try to understand the findings of a study by Robertson and Chase on the subject. They point out that, number 1, the more closely matched the physical, social and personal characteristics of the customer and salesperson, the more likely is the sale. Number 2, the more believable and trustworthy the customer perceives the salesperson to be, the more likely is the sale. Number 3, the more persuadable a customer is, the more likely is a sale. And number 4, the more a salesperson can make prospective buyers view themselves favorably, the more likely is a sale. Sales function and managing sales personnel. Selling is done by the sales force either directly to customers, such as in case of industrial salesmen, or to retailers, as in case of salesmen merely supplying shopkeepers and inducing them to stock the goods. In both cases, the effort of the salesman contributes to the overall sales turnover of an organization. The advertising effort and the sales effort are, to a certain extent, interrelated. The main function of advertising is generally before the actual selling occurs. The customer looks at advertisements and is thus induced to go to the shop or wait for the salesman and make his purchase. The salesman's job is to hand over the merchandise against exchange of money and provide satisfaction to the customer. Besides, he also sometimes has to provide after-sales service. In terms of selling, the role of a salesman can be subdivided into several categories. These are: number 1, prospecting. That is, trying to find out likely customers who are called prospects. Number 2, pre-approach. That is, trying to find out more about the customers before actually meeting them. Number 3, the approach. That is, when the salesman actually communicates with the prospect with a view to sell the product. Number 4, the actual selling, where he answers objections and closes the sale. Number 5, in addition to this, he may also provide services such as giving technical assistance, arranging credit facilities, and expediting deliveries. And number 6, collecting information useful for the organization. A salesman who follows these steps will have a higher chance of being successful with his customers. In sharp contrast to selling activity, a sales supervisor performs the function of managing the sales staff. This is a very important aspect. It is at times thought that good salesmen can make good sales managers. This is not true, because a good salesman is very keen on selling or the doing part of his job. When he becomes a sales supervisor, and as he goes up higher and higher and becomes a sales manager, his job changes in emphasis to that of managing, which consists of planning and goal setting, organizing, motivating, and controlling his subordinates. Thus, the job has changed from doing to getting things done through people. Of course, it is true that many sales managers continue to perform the selling function and provide the necessary support. Now, let us try to understand the field of sales management. There is a lot of confusion in the expression sales manager and marketing manager. They are at times used synonymously. You have learned the meaning of marketing and therefore know that the marketing manager is concerned with the 4 P's in marketing. The sales manager's function is limited. It is limited to one of the P's in marketing, namely promotion. The American Marketing Association has defined sales management as, and I quote, "the planning, direction, and control of the personal selling activities of a business unit, including recruiting, selection, training, equipping, assigning, routing, supervising, remunerating, and motivating as these tasks apply to the sales force." Unquote. From this definition, we can define the functions of a sales manager as: number 1, selection of the sales force; number 2, training the sales force; number 3, motivating the sales force; number 4, controlling the sales force.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program, course code Mmpc 006, Marketing Management. Course Coordinator Professor T.B. Vijay Kumar, School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Savita. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.